And welcome. My name is Derek Mosley. I'm the director of Marquette Law School's Lubar Center for Public Policy Research and Civic Education. And I want to welcome you all to our Get to Know program. And this is actually an offshoot of the Get to Know. This is our face of the case. So legally speaking, there are certain cases that are so important that we only refer to them by one name. Cases like Miranda and Roe, Terry. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody realized that even though we talk about these cases as just that one name, that these cases actually represent real people. And so it was my goal to actually bring in those litigants, so have an opportunity for you to actually hear their story and then ask questions. And today is no different. The case that pretty much changed the dynamic of NCAA sports, House versus the NCAA. If you all could join me in welcoming our guests today, Mr. Grant House. Grant, welcome to Marquette.
Thank you. I'm super glad to be here. I'm very honored to be here as well.
And this is your first time in Milwaukee, correct?
First time in Milwaukee at Marquette, so I'm very excited to be here.
Good. So where are you from originally?
Originally, I grew up for 15 years in Southeast Indiana. We moved into Cincinnati, Ohio to go to a Jesuit high school, St. Xavier, as well. So I'm very familiar and very fond of the Jesuit mission here. It became a very formative stage of my life as well, too, to really catapult me into a new developmental chapter of my career to go across the country, out to Arizona State, and spend the last 8 years out there for undergraduate and graduate degrees. So I've been in Indiana to grow up, then Ohio for a little high school time. That's where my parents live now. And then I've been residing out in Arizona for the last 8 years.
And when did you take up swimming?
When did I take up swimming? I think my first time in the water was probably 3 months old. It's a family lineage. My brother and sister both swam. My sister's 42. My brother's 36. My parents both swam as well. So I had a crib poolside while my parents coached and make sure they could change my diaper in between the practices.
And your parents, do they still coach swimming?
My mother does some private lessons on the side just because she's the swim whisperer, as I call her. She has a unique skill with helping develop a lot of young athletes, men and girls and boys. And so it's really neat to see her have that. But the coaching side for both of them has since put on the back burner. They spent about 45 years as coaches and educators in that. So they're ready for a break and just to be full-time parents and now grandparents for the last 15 years.
All right. So, how did you get to Arizona State?
It's a great question. I knew two people going out there beforehand, and not in the most familiar sense. I knew them because I swam against them growing up in Indiana. And I really felt like with how much time my family had spent in the Midwest, whether it was Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, a little bit of Michigan. I really felt like after almost my sister growing up ahead of me, being 15 years older than me, it was you're Ashley's brother, you're my older brother Kyle's brother, you're Sue and Ray's son. I really wanted to embrace and create my own identity as a young man developing, and I felt like I really had to kind of separate myself geographically by a pretty large margin just because that's how far of a reach and how deep-rooted my parent had set the community, and my brother and my sister as well. So I really wanted to take what I learned at St. Xavier with the Jesuit mission and just really seek out my own cura personalis and be able to go across the country and develop myself and see how I could stand independently.
Men and women for others.
Absolutely.
So you get to Arizona State to swim, and your college career was weird because of COVID. So explain this.
Yeah, so my big agenda going out to Arizona State, I went on my official visit out there. I loved everything I saw. Clear skies, no clouds, all blue, 80 degrees, a lot different than Milwaukee.
So I pick him up from the airport yesterday, and he's like in a t-shirt and sweats. I'm like, you're in the wrong place. But go ahead.
I was preparing for the skywalks. I knew I could get around it. But it was somewhere that I saw this level of excellence. I saw my parents build this community of excellence and this family dynamic that they cared so much and gave so much compassion to everyone they impacted and all the lives they touched. And my brother went to North Carolina. He went to a school called Queen's University where he really instilled a level of excellence, really impacted a lot of lives there, and created a program that today, being Division II, they're switching over to Division I. They're 7-time national champions for the women, 6-time national champions for the men. And so I saw that at a very impressionable age when I was going to a very prominent high school at St. Xavier. We have a very big legacy of winning and excellence, especially in swimming. And so I wanted to take that, and again, can I do this on my own? Can I do what I saw? And can I frankly do it a little bit better than my big brother? And so when I went to Arizona State, I saw all those traits possible. I saw all the lives that I could help impact. And I saw this mission, this basically this opportunity to pursue my majus of giving back and serving others around me and being able to build a program that wasn't just the best in the country, but it was also the best in the world. And we fast forward 8 years down the line now. Arizona State's a national championship team. We're attracting Olympians from all across the world, whether it's Fiji, whether it's New Zealand, Australia, Canada. It's a hotbed for swimming and performance, and really just individuals, men and women, pursuing the best versions of themselves. And that's something that I'm super proud of, because I was actually the team that got the second place team championship right before the national championship. So I didn't get to see the direct fruits of my labor on it, but it's more rewarding now seeing how the dynamic has changed and seeing how prominent the team has come.
That's kind of ironic. That happened to your brother. So your brother does the same thing at Queens College, graduates, and then win the national championship.
Yeah.
And then you go to Arizona State, graduate, and then win the national championship.
Yeah, it was a really unique full circle moment too, because he was the first athlete to be recruited at Queens, first official athlete there, and then within 4 years' time, they were already national champions, Division II. And going out to Arizona State had just had their men's program cut in 2008, 2009, which I actually went out on a recruiting trip with my brother and my family, and he visited Grand Canyon University, University of Arizona, and Arizona State University. And Arizona State University didn't have a team at the time. So ironically, we could have been both alumnus of Arizona State. It just didn't fall in the cards. And so going out there, kind of creating this program, they never had a recruit of my times and my performance level and my caliber. And it was a really unique opportunity to challenge my internal dialogue, my internal character, and my ethical leadership to help make this program what I saw on my first visit and wanted to foster and create every single day.
So your college career is over, but you're training right now for the Olympics.
Yeah, correct. So I've been done with my graduate degree, ended in the spring of 2023 with the Sports Law and Business program in Tempe, Arizona. And since then, I've been competing for Team USA since 2023. I mean, since 2014 overall, but professionally since 2023. And it's been a very, very unique dynamic. So qualifying for teams every year, you don't have an NCAA championship, you don't have a conference championship. It's either make or break each year, and it comes down to hundredths and tenths of a second. I've been to 3 Olympic trials now, and just facing the adversity of waiting 4 years to get to the singular moment that you've built up in your mind, you built up in your performance, you built your body, your mind, your spirit, your will up to, and basically testing yourself, competing against everyone else who's been in that same circumstance, and moving away and trying to work through that perseverance, the resiliency to be able to go, okay, face this opportunity, fall a little bit short, succeed in some areas, fall a little bit short, succeed again, and just that balance of resiliency to go throughout that. It's been very unique, but I'm very grateful for the challenges and successes, because it's gotten to show me the world, and it's gotten to show me a lot more about myself as well.
So you have to say this just is for my own personals. So you're watching the Olympics, and you're watching these meets, and they're the teams. Both teams are in the same room, and they're sitting next to each other before. Explain that. How does that work? Is it just intense?
Yeah, it's a pretty intense environment. So when you're getting ready for an event in swimming, it's a lot different than many other ones. I'd say one of the most similar entities is actually the Winter Olympics going on right now, when they're going one by one on their runs, or for big air, like that's the start of the competition today. For snowboarding or ski slaloms, like they kind of go one at a time, but they're never just packed in looking one-on-one with each other, because there's a group of 8 of us, and we have to report about 15 to 20 minutes before our event to why. I'm not really sure. That's just the rules. That's what I've grown up with. But it's really a test of like your perseverance and being able to have that like internal fortitude of, I've done everything I can. These 20 minutes aren't going to break me, but it does break a lot of people. It's very intense. You're just waiting there. You're not really able to leave the room, and you're just preparing and kind of letting your thoughts run rampant if you do, or just finding that internal peace. Like I was talking about earlier, the biggest thing that you can focus on is just finding that peace amongst the chaos, and really trying to narrow out your focus of what you care about, what you know you train for, and ideally what you're enjoying in the moment.
You just stare at people?
I mean, Sometimes, I guess. Sometimes you kind of find yourself in a blank stare, the 1,000-mile stare out there. But a lot of the time, it's just music. You'll typically know a competitor in there, ideally from your country. Or if you're competing against someone from your country, don't really want to talk to them like at that time. But everyone has a different flair. Some people want to listen to music. Some people don't want to talk at all. Some people want to like get up and move. So you just kind of got to respect that and honor that for what they need as well. And just stay focused on your single task because you can't affect anyone else.
So what are your events in swimming?
My events are the 200-meter freestyle, 200-meter individual medley. The individual medley has all 4 strokes, and then the 100-meter freestyle. So a lot of shorter distance, more sprint-oriented distance, and that's changed over time.
So what's next for you in the trials? What are we looking for?
Yeah, so we're in February 2026. We have a qualification meet coming up in October this year. It's the first time ever we've done that for United States team, for World Championship team. We are selecting a short course meters team. So for college, you have the 25-yard pool. When you watch the Olympics, you have a 50-meter pool, the big boy. And then there's a one in between that the rest of the world does, but America decided not to, called 25 meters. America's never selected a team for that before. We've always just it's kind of a throwaway meet in my eyes and to a lot of athletes' eyes. But this year, the athletes have spoken up. It's been an initiative the last 4 years for us to have that be a proper intentional meet. And so this is the first year that they're ever having that. And so in October, we'll be in Westmont, actually, for a qualifying meet for there. And then we'll be going out to compete in December out in Asia for the World Championships for short course meters. And then in 2028, the Olympic trials will be in the summer. And about anywhere from 40 to 50 days later, we'll be competing at the LA Olympics. So that's the plan.
To you.
Thank you.
So this is the question that has always been on my mind. Let's start focusing towards the whole case. And how did you get involved in the case?
Yeah, it was a lot of serendipitous occasion, really. We were at COVID. We were not allowed to train on facility. And so at the time, we found this local pool that was open. I'm not sure how, regulation-wise, but so be it. We were happy. We didn't care. We needed to fill our time, and we wanted to stay on track with our goals and our plans. So a big group of us from Arizona State would meet up there every morning, approximately Monday through Saturday. And one of the mornings we finished at like 10 a.m. and we were sitting poolside in our suits and just enjoying the sunshine. We had the rest of the day to do nothing effectively. And I just heard from them behind me, one of my female teammates, Cameron, she said, "Hey, Mom, I have the perfect person for this." So I didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden I have someone coming around, turning me around and handing me a phone and says, "Grant, can you talk to my mom?" So I talked to her mother, who worked for the law firm that represented the House versus NCAA case, Higgins-Berman, and slowly started to have these interviews. At the time, they just wanted to hear on my experience as a college athlete and someone who had competed for Team USA several years in a row, and from a junior age, 18 and under, all the way to college. I've been in the top 8 finals, academic All-American. So they just wanted to understand, in my eyes, my story, my journey, what I experienced. As we had those conversations, it turned into 3, 4, 5. I was like, this is a pretty long interview process. I guess this is more than a little bit of an article. And then I got referred to another individual, one of the lawyers that was more directed with me, Emily Sisko, and started to understand, like, how was your experience? What were you limited? Did you have sponsorships that you couldn't access? Did you have sponsorship opportunities? What was the dynamic that you faced as a college athlete succeeding on the global stage for what I would say is one of the most dominant sports in the world, American men's and women's swimming? And so there was a lot of opportunity, a lot of television time as well, too, a lot of viewership rights there with the opportunities that was going to World University Games, Pan American Games, Junior World Championships, another Junior World Championship opportunity as well in Ireland. And so there was a lot of opportunities there for someone like myself at that stage to really benefit from that. And they just wanted me to speak on that for what I had to turn down. And so from that dynamic, it kind of turned on, okay, there's clearly a lot of opportunities here that you had to pass up on, that you had to not accept because of your eligibility as a college athlete, or else that would put it in jeopardy. And they asked if I would be able to speak on that behalf of all athletes. And I felt like, well, every athlete's in the same scenario, so why not? And from there, it kind of continued to snowball.
And it wasn't just you. There were actually, I think, 2 other athletes.
Yeah, so Tymir Oliver, he's the representative for football for media rights and broadcasting for football, and then Sedona Prince for men's and women's basketball for media rights and revenue share there. And then my prong, the three-prong approach of this was for Olympic athletes, back pay, and the injunction going forward, basically to make this official going forward, rather than just, Florida and California at the time just saying, we're just going to start paying everyone else can do what they want, and then the NCAA 2 weeks later reacting and say, okay, NIL's a thing now. Everyone can do it because we don't want just these two states just seceding from the NCAA. But those are the three individuals, and myself included, that comprise to make this case.
Do you know them?
So I have a good relationship, I'd say, with Sedona. I'd say we talk at a good candor and good consistency and pace. Like, she's overseas competing and pursuing her athletic career. So that's been a dynamic of, like, we can only talk when we're both awake, obviously. And so we'll leave messages, something like that, the last 2 years. She's been in Lebanon, over in Middle East, all over Europe as well, too. So that has its own different dynamics, but we feel it's really important that we discuss the current dynamics, the current landscape of NIL for college athletes. Our names are in this for the rest of our lives, and making sure that we're on the same page and discussing positives, negatives, pros, cons, where we see things, where we're learning things, what other athletes that we have a good touch point with, a very high touch point across the entire country and world now as well too, to just discuss these ideas of how can we help shape this and form this going forward. So I'd say with Sedona, it's been a good connection. We've met a couple times. Her and I were both at the final hearing with Judge Wilkins in Oakland. I actually went down there. I stayed a couple more days after a meet in Sacramento that I had in 2025. I think it was March. And I rented a car, booked a flight, postponed my flight to go down to Oakland. It mattered that much to me. And I wanted to make sure I was there as much as I could because the other hearings conflicted with competition. This one I had 2 days to get down there. So it was a really unique opportunity to be there with Sedona and share that moment, hear the athletes actually share their objections and hear their standpoints and their perspectives, and see how Judge Wilkins interacted with that. I found that very unique, and how the other individuals that came to object the case too, talking with them outside of just that moment of listening to them and really hearing where they came from and being empathetic of both sides to that, not just my way's correct, your way's wrong, but trying to see both lenses. And I think the most unique spot is I have, and this is a gross overgeneralization probably, but I have no idea if Tymir Oliver exists or not. I've asked for his contact information a couple times from my lawyers, and they said they couldn't give it to me. I tried to reach out on social media. Neither Sedona nor I could really reach out to him. And so for lesser or more, he just wanted to keep a lower profile. I respect that, especially with what I endured and went through and experienced over the last 5 years. But it always moved me very, very heavily that I never was able to connect him, and he was a vital part of this process by name association, if nothing else.
Right.
So a good connection with Sedona, I think, inappropriate. It probably could be a little bit more, but both of us have different schedules, pursuing her making the WNBA, myself trying to make the Olympics, and also sustaining ourselves along the way. But for Tymir, I really have no form or shape of a relationship with him. I wish him all the best, though. Yeah.
So describe the case, the decision when you were there. What was going through your mind?
Yeah.
What was the environment like?
Yeah. So in 2025.
Yes.
So the case was a very real sense of culmination for me. It was a very real heaviness on me, really palpably and tangibly feeling that moment for the first time, feeling 5 years culminating to ultimately the decisions that would be drawn out from today. It was a very rewarding process. There was a little bit of fear, of scarcity within me, just being human, of the unknown of something could be said here today to completely rewrite Judge Wilkins' opinions and everyone's opinions in the room. But again, I believe to be there because I believe what I've done and the path that I set out on was righteous, was just, and was the productive step forward for the future of college sports. So it was pretty intense. It was a lot of interviewers, a lot of people wanting to hear sound bites here and there, a lot of the lawyers there, a lot of people with a very big distaste for me in the room as well too. Nothing that I hadn't endured for the last 5 years, but just a more real, tangible aspect of being there just like I am today, face to face. But the difference between now and then is I'm here for open communication and open conversation, and welcomed into the community, which I appreciate everyone welcoming me here today. I'm very grateful for, because the last 5 years has been a lot of closing out, a lot of closed doors, a lot of one-way conversations, and that's just never how we're going to move forward with this together, and that's never how we're going to move forward with this productively and for the sake of future in college sports.
You have to tell the story, because did you not tell your parents that you were suing the NCAA?
It's a great question. If my mom was here today, she would say, absolutely not, he didn't. So when I was going on this process of those interviews, I was piecing it together bit by bit. At the time in 2020, being 21 at the time, a little bit more naive, a little bit more ignorant, quite a lot, I'd say. I'll say a lot more ignorant than today, ideally. But I kind of mentioned it in passing, like, hey, I'm having these conversations. Hey, Cam's mom started talking to me. I mentioned it to my sister briefly, my parents briefly, and my brother briefly, and on separate calls. And my brother was really the only one that like latched on to it. Like, hey, there's something here. This is more important than maybe he realizes or not, or any of us realize. So I had mentioned it, but I don't think any of us knew to like latch on to the conversation. Like, we really need to come together about this. I consulted a couple of different individuals. My high school water polo coach had worked at the biggest law firm in Ohio. And so I asked him for guidance along the way. Mike Roberts, I'm very, very grateful for him. He's been a huge mentor and figure in my life since I went to St. Xavier in 2014. And he was really the only one that said, I can't predict the future. This might turn into something bigger than we realize, but I can't tell you like today. And so I talked to a couple of individuals that were in the sports law program too, preparing for their careers as agents. And again, they kind of said the same thing, like, I don't know if this will really turn into something that big. It might just blow over.
How do you know when your mom knew or your family knew?
So I was driving away from practice, and the headline was released. Grant House sues the NCAA for $2.2 billion. Yeah, quite the gripping headline. So I'm just like, man, I had a great practice. I feel on top of the world. Like, I'm gonna go home, get some food, go to the sauna, like just recover, do my thing. And I start getting like 10 messages, 30 messages, 50 messages, 40, like all the way up to like 150 messages within like 10 minutes. And so I pull over on the road, and I have like 5 calls from my mother, 3 FaceTimes, 20 messages, and my brother's like, you need to call mom right now. And so if anyone's ever been near that scenario, you call your mother right away. If you learn one thing today, call your mother right away. And so I called, and she's like, what does this mean? What is going on? What did you do? What happened? And so at that point, I was under the impression that I had about 10 more days to understand. There was about a day or two before that I'd really like comprehended what I was signing up for, to speak on behalf of all athletes across the NCAA, especially Olympic sport athletes. And so I was under the impression I had about 10 to 9 more days until the press release was officially published, and somehow it just went off on that Monday. So I had no time to put things in place to talk to my sister, my family, my mother, my father, any cousins, any teammates, any coaches, any admin at ASU. That was a very interesting one. But everyone was kind of livid. And I also understand, like, it's not necessarily like this is my path, this is my journey. So I also understand, like, in that scenario, like, I had to give myself some grace of I didn't know what I didn't know. And just understanding what that meant now, and the power and the responsibility that fell upon me. But it was a very, very hard launch into this process because of the publicity with it. And that happened throughout the time, for the rest of the 5 years. There would be, I work as a performance and strength coach in Paradise Valley with Major League Baseball players and youth athletes in the area and then across the country. And I'd be walking into work, and I'd see like 2022, 2023, 2024, just be a random day, like House versus NCAA lawsuit takes this next step, and it's just all over ESPN, CBS. I'd wake up to 300 text messages, 10 calls. I'd wake up to 400 messages. I'd have hundreds of messages just spontaneously one day on any of my social media accounts. So it was a lot of very intense peaks and moments, and I wouldn't even call those peaks because they were pretty heavy to deal with at the time. But it was this process of just being able to adjust and adapt and be resilient for any moment, because you really didn't know when it came along. It was pretty much a little bit of a stressor every day, and then there would be a big impactful moment, and kind of adapting and readjusting for that.
So what was the reaction? Teammates and the university?
The university was pretty, I'd say, man, they were pretty confused. They were pretty unclear of what was going on, I'd say, because they just felt like blindsided. I did skip this. I did talk to 4 admin just to collect like their perspective. And they're like, I don't know if this is something you want to be a part of. And I was like, okay, noted. That's your decision, not mine, but noted. Thank you for your hour of time. Thank you for our discussion today. And so when they called, they're like, what the heck? Like, why did you not listen to anything that we said? And I was like, no, I did. I took it into consideration. I felt like this is what I want to courageously stand up for, and this is what I ethically believe in, not what compliance tells me to believe for my arms reports. And so I think that was like an important step for me, is like having them acknowledge my choices that I didn't realize at the time what I'd have to live with, maybe to the full magnitude. And then also I think the hardest part was dealing with the coaches, because I'm a reflection of the program. I'm a reflection of what they're investing their time into. And that was a little bit harder. My direct coach was pretty uplifting and just curious about it, and understood like this is going to be a pretty lofty journey, and I'm here to support you if you need to. But Herbie Boehm is his name. He's now the head coach at ASU, but he really understood like no one knew the magnitude of this at the time, and I didn't do it intentionally to like defamate anyone, and I certainly didn't want to like compromise my image, but it's something I believed in and I speak up to, and it's kind of been a I guess a journey in my life of realizing that that's always been the case, whether it's against my mom growing up in the crib, speaking out, or being the loudest voice in the room. Always standing up for what I believe in and what I think is right has been a commonality. But the admin were pretty confused, upset, a little bit energized with that, and then like the coaches were confused, and then my family was more so just scared. And then my role model, my brother, he was just like, "We're gonna get through this together. We're gonna figure it out. Like, I don't know what this means yet, but we're gonna go through this together as best we can."
And they had every right to be scared, right?
Yeah.
Because you've had some death threats.
Yeah. It came in I believe the fall of 2023 at this point. I'm not a big pick up a random call kind of guy, but for whatever reason that day.
Thank God you picked up my call.
Yeah. I had a little heads up with that one. From Aaron. And so the one day I was sitting in front of my couch, I was watching the TV. I'd finished a practice. I was like, why not answer this call? And so I picked it up. Hello, is this Grant House? Yes, speaking. Who's this? I just want to tell you, like, you deserve to die, that this is the worst thing ever. Like, everything that you have coming negatively towards you, you deserve. And that I hope that you have like the most harm come to your life. And I was just like, closed it off right there. It was just like 15, 20 seconds. And I was just like completely caught off guard. Like, what did I do? And because of the unknown caller ID and no caller ID, like it was my growing up in a community of so much positivity and so much love and compassion. There's going to be people in your athletic career that are like, oh, you can't achieve this, you can't do that, or I doubt you. But to have just such directed negativity and like human hatred at me was like a first shocking experience for me. So it took me about 3 or 4 months to like even process that and understand, like I said to you last night when we talked, like I went to the police enforcement. They're like, do you feel like your life is definitely in threat, like definitively in threat? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know this person. I couldn't tell the voice. Like, I don't have an idea. And they're like, because we don't have an idea, we can't really do anything about it. Like, here's our number to contact us if it happens again, but more or less just like stay on watch, I guess. And so my mom came in town about 4 months later when this was starting to really like weigh on me, starting to really pick up steam of a lot of people coming out and feeling they needed to throw their opinions at me because they thought I wrote all wrote all the terminology out, wrote all the contracts, was doing all this by myself and suing the NCAA as the undergraduate myself. And so they put all their negativity towards me, whether it was emails, calls, messages, in person, any opportunity they had. It seemed like they wanted to take advantage of it. And I finally told my mom, and I cried. I opened up. I told her. She cried. We cried together. But it was that moment that I really shared that with her, and I faced this first like threat against my life, or threatening component of my life, that I knew I had my support system better than I ever did. I knew I faced one of the hardest moments in my life and that I could overcome that. And I had overcome that for 4 months. And I was accepted because of that by my family to the highest degree that they could, just for my safety, presence, and for love. And so once I had that moment, I felt like the rest of the journey, I knew I had the support regardless of anything, and standing strong and having the courage to face that.
Cal Poly's kind of upset.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Cal Poly.
Yeah, so that was earlier in the spring of 2025. I was at Westmont, Illinois. I guess that's a common theme here in this journey. But I was at Westmont, Illinois, competing in a competition, pro swim series for professional swimmers to actually make some money in their journey while they compete and race. And I made the A final. I was like the second place qualifier that night. I was just putting out a social media post like, hey, I'm in the A final. Tune into NBC Peacock tonight. Watch the final, 200-meter freestyle. And at that point, I didn't see the news release, but news had broke. Cal Poly cuts men's and women's swimming. So I'm on my Instagram account with maybe 10 minutes in total, and I see 10 messages, 30 messages, 50, 60, 70, 130 messages all. And I open my inbox, and it's just like, I hate you. You're the worst. You're the reason college sports are going to fail. I hate you. You deserve to die. I hate you. You're the worst person ever. You deserve everything. Yeah, I hope you never reach your goals. Just constant barragement. And I was like, okay, I don't need to read all these. I kind of get the trend here, the errands of grievances. And so I just immediately hopped off all social media. That was a moment for me. We were leading into Olympic trials at that point. So I guess it was probably 2024. I misspoke on that, but leading into Olympic trials, I was like, I can't do this because these are my aspirations and goals. And I know I can still help people deal with this if they handle it in a mature and appropriate way. But the thing that a lot of people didn't want to acknowledge and that didn't do the research on it was 3 key components of the Cal Poly situation. And at that Sacramento meet, right before I went down to the hearing, I actually had the opportunity to put out a post and connect with 2 or 3 individuals from Cal Poly to have a civil and mature discussion and understand it's not my fault. This was your athletic director picking the low-hanging fruit to just pick the sports that aren't football, and which I don't even know if they have a football team, but just to cut swimming because it's the easy choice and because he didn't want to put more thought into it and he felt like he had to do something right then. But the AD had made a promise to the swim team. He would give advance notice on any cutting of any sports, that for a year out there would be advance notification on that and the swimming team was not in jeopardy. And he denied a $1 million donation to support the swim program just because it wasn't a fully endowed $10 million for the next several years. So there were all these opportunities that, of course, Cal Poly never put out. Of course, the media never covered. And it was just Grant House as the victim and villain. And it was one of those understanding moments that I really grew a lot and understood the dynamics of how the NCAA operates and how these schools are choosing that moment. And also the embrace that I got from those select few individuals of hey, we were wrong. We thought you were to blame, but we learned and we want to help amplify your image, but also can you help support our swim team? And absolutely. I mean, one of the first things when we got on campus today, I said, can I see the swimming pool for the Marquette women's swim team? What an awesome opportunity that sport is being added here. Not even 2 years old, a year, the first season here, amidst all this journey. And that's really rewarding for me to hear because I see those successes, but a lot of people want to point out the one instance that it's not. But it's really a lack there of care from that administration or the Cal Poly athletic department for not being intentional and even accepting $1 million, which that's just crazy, but accepting the help and putting it at the forefront of our student athletes matter, our college athletes matter. And someone like my athletic director, Ray Anderson, always spoke up about this and empowered us to, if you want to do this, we see the trend coming. If you want to believe in athletes having rights, go do it. I heard that. I was like, I respect this man a lot. That gave me a lot of freedom. And now our AD currently, Graham Mazzini, putting in 200 plus scholarships, doubling down on Olympic sports to support us. So I know it's possible. I know athletic directors can do it. And I know it matters to the people that it actually matters to uplift human lives in their sports that they want to do while they're at college. So I saw that, and it was a big learning curve of some people are going to make the efforts and some people aren't. And that, the Cal Poly example was a big one for me because I just was inundated with too much negativity again and just removed myself from social media for about 5 months leading into the Olympic trials.
So you're getting death threats, you're getting all these nasty emails, but who cares? You're rich now, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks. I was after Olympic trials. I went out. I enjoyed myself. I celebrated with my friends, my teammates, and you're out at dinner, out after that at a bar, and everyone's like, oh, Mr. Moneybags, oh, Mr. Millionaire, like, oh, tabs on Grant. It's like, nope, I've collected $0. I don't know if I'm going to collect any at that point either. There's been no allocation of the case is even going to go through, if it's going to be approved. And everyone just saw the headlines. House sues for $2.1 billion. And just time and time again, whether it was 1.7, 1.3, 2.7, whatever rendition, it was like, wow, Grant House is getting $2.7 billion. That's crazy. And then I'm not going to read the rest of the article. Like, that's just not the case. And I think it's interesting. I'm very grateful to learn along the process. But the first 3 years, that's why I would join the sports law program, because I was in it for 2 years, the lawsuit. And at the 2-year marker, whether that's incredibly ignorant or not, I've really felt the powerful responsibility to like, okay, I'm understanding the magnitude. I'm gripping it after 2021 when NIL became real for everyone across the country. And finally, I took it upon myself, like, I want to shift my career path from exercise physiology, human nutrition, my double major, to go into the graduate program for sports law and business. And because I wanted to be a leader that could ethically and knowledgeably lead others and help empower others, and also feel empowered myself to come here and speak on these topics, and also have a foresight and vision for the future of college sports as well, not just like have my name on a case and just be floating around in the background. Like, I don't want that. I want to be at the forefront. I want to be helping. I want to be creating ideas. I want to be an ideas leader as we're piecing these solutions together. And so it was just a really unique standpoint to, at that 2-year point, shift my career to be empowered and be able to educate this and kind of shift that path a little bit.
But show of hands, how many sports law students are in the audience?
Oh, heck yeah. There we go. Love to see that.
So what are you hoping from this point on? What are you hoping for the House versus NCAA settlement?
I hope that the settlement really sparks and enacts a change in everyone's perspective of the last 5 years. I've seen so much resistance and so much fighting of this. It was never a matter of if, it was a matter of when for me. And if not me, then someone else. And I realized that very early on. And I just feel like a lot of people fought and resisted that. And when we're resisting that and fighting that push forward to evolve and to change, we're just slowing down the time. And so my goal with this is to help everyone understand, especially the people that were in my position when I went through the program from the fall of 2022 into the summer of 2023 with my internships, understanding that, like, you're the leaders for change in the future. Like, your voices matter, whether for me, like, an activation in a marketing project, an activation for a gambling project, an activation for a sponsorship product with a founder that came in, it was a professor at our class. Like, my journey started as a leader on my high school team at a Jesuit high school, understanding what it meant to be a man for others and a man for other men and women, and to help lead them to be the best version of themselves. And going out to Arizona to really enact my Cura Personalis, to lean into that, and also to be a leader, a captain on ASU's team, go into Student Athlete Advisory Committee, SAC, which almost every university has, be a president at SAC for 1.5 years, 2 years, make changes. We need better nutrition for the athletes. We need better sports psychology for the athlete. Being a leader there, going up to the Pac-12 level when it existed, and speaking out on behalf of athletes. Like, swimming's has one of the highest per capita Olympians for swimming, and over the Pac-12, the Conference of Champions. And yet we're having over 14 sessions. We're having 1 to 2 sessions collectively filmed of our men and our women swimming conference championship. That's unacceptable in my mind. That's unacceptable for any sport at all. But I was moved by that because I was living it, and I was seeing it, and I could see, like, parents couldn't watch their kids pursue their dreams unless they flew out there, and not everyone has that ability. And so,
put that in perspective for, like, let's say the SEC.
So the SEC has, like, this giant meet every year with men's and women's, and they all come together. Like, typically it's a meet like Tennessee. It's about a 3-hour process because they're having all these different events. It's 5 days long. So we have a final session to start it with relays, really exciting. And then every day there's about 2 to 3 events. So it's this big conglomerate of all these teams. I think there's about 13 total, men's and women's combined, not each gender, but they come together for this giant and incredible meet. High entertainment, high energy. It's all filmed, covered by a couple of their different media outlets as well. And then in Pac-12, we separate. We have women's 1 week before and men's the week after. We have a 3.5-day meet, so even less. And we go through our sessions because it's single gender in about 1 hour, about give or take like 1 hour, 70 minutes. And they weren't taking the time to like even just set up a camcorder tripod, like someone click play, come back like 2 hours later, and then like publish that on YouTube or anything else, or the Pac-12 network that Larry Scott felt was going to be successful. But it was like all these instances of just like the bare minimum. We just need like the authorities in charge, the adults in the room, to like care a little bit about what we're trying to do, what we care about. And every time it was just like falling short. And meanwhile, you see the SEC, I mean, in that case, it did just mean more to them, like doing everything they can, celebrating the athletes and being like this mecca and this epicenter of performance. And so what I saw that, like the examples I was giving at those leadership opportunities, wherever you're at, whether it's a class or a project or an organization or a committee, those little moments of leadership help give you the strength and the courage that it gave me to stand firm on my feet for 5 years, whether it was on my team, as a captain, Pac-12, SAC, and speaking up for what I believed in. Those all gave me the courage and kind of the punching ability to make sure I stood firm in what I believed in.
So at this point, I don't know if Hillary's in the room. There she is. I wanted to open it up for questions a little earlier than we normally do because I knew we had so many sports law students who were in the room. So at this time, if there are any questions, we'll field questions for Grant.
First hand I saw in the back.
All right. Oh, how am I going to get to you?
And please ask any and all questions. I promise I'm an open book and probably talk a little bit too much than I should.
Grant, first off, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Two-part question. First is, what was the reasoning behind that teammate's mom's call that day at the pool? And then part two is, say you're sick or something out at the pool. Are you still as involved as you are right now?
Can you repeat the second part?
If you're like, say you weren't at the pool that day when the mom called, is it still House versus NCAA? Is it one of your teammates versus NCAA? How would that have worked?
Two good questions. I think for me, the goal was that fortunately my parents are great prominent figures in my life, and they had raised me very ethically, very morally, very prominently to be a strong, upstanding young man. And whether that was a leader in the classroom, as a friend, as a peer, as a son, as a brother, I think when Cam, in that moment, I can't speak for her. She's at Northeastern now, preparing to be a lawyer. But I think in her eyes, she just seen Grant's the captain of the team. He's this person that strives for excellence. This is what I would assume. And when I talked with her mother, that interview process that I mentioned, it kind of checked off the boxes. Like, I don't try to like be egotistical with this or like toot my own horn, but I'm very proud of these things. Like honor student 4.0, academic All-American, Team USA, like junior world champion, representing Team USA globally like 6 times. Like when you go down the list, there wasn't any reason like, oh, like here's his criminal record, or like, oh, this guy's just a delinquent, like, oh, this guy's a bum. Like everything they saw was like an upstanding person that I would think you would want as a representative for a very big and powerful, courageous cause like this. So I don't know the exact reason. I think if I wasn't there that day, I don't know. I think that's how like the unique lifestyle and journey that God presents to us, and putting the right people in the right places at the right time. And like I said, if not me, it would have been someone else. And God put it in front of my path that it was me for that. And that's what the trials he wanted to test me with. And I believe that that's just how it was. I don't have an answer if it didn't, because that's not the life that I was chosen to live. If I ever find that out, I'll let you know. But I'll leave that to Marvel and the parallel universe. But I know this would have happened regardless. But I know I talked to Derek about this too. Like there was probably about 50 plus times along the last 5 years that I was told, do you want to step away? Do you want to stop being like the plaintiff? Do you want to remove myself? And I know I chose to say, no, I don't want to. I want to stand firm in what I believe in, what I want to be courageous about. I don't know if someone else would have done that. I don't know if on the second time they would have bowed out. I don't know if they on the 50th time they would have bowed out or any. I can only speak for myself. And I felt like if I ever stepped away from that light that I was trying to provide and trying to reach, that the whole initiative would have been for not like, oh, the lead plaintiff backs away from it, then what does this even mean? Like, he doesn't even believe in it. So good questions. I'd have to like really go into hypotheticals if that would be the case, but I was there that day and I'm glad I was.
Hey, Grant, fellow Olympic sport college athlete. So thanks for being here and thanks for all of your advocacy. You talked a lot about just negative press and headlines that have come across within the last 5 years. So what's the message that you want everybody here and just in general to take away about your experience being a part of this litigation?
Can I ask what sport?
Field hockey.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for coming here today. I'm glad to have a fellow Olympic athlete as well. I think for my goal is that it's all about educating and uplifting one another. I feel like I said, for 5 years, it was just like literally like I've reached out to have these discussions once I had my experience in the sports law program, to have these discussions to help move forward with this initiative. And the openness was just always cut off. The openness was a closed door. The negativity was always what it was led with. And hatred can never beat out hatred. I think like only love can beat out hatred with that. And so to answer your question fully, I would say like the openness to have these discussions, to continually uplift one another and build forward and be forward thinking about this. Like, whether you like it or not, this is changing. Whether you like it or not, this is here now. And I've known that for the last 5 years, especially when for the Alston case, our Supreme Court voted 9-0 in unanimous decision, the governing law of our country, in favor of college athletes, and called the NCAA's model illogical and not understandable. So when I see that, it's like, okay, this cause is worth fighting for. This is the right position to be in. And just continuing to choose openness and moving forward and being a thought leader to find solutions instead of resisting and point at the problems. Very, very good question.
Thanks so much for coming here and for being a leader while we're talking sports. I was a swimmer as well, so shout out.
There we go.
But my question is more 2026 and beyond. So you weren't an undergrad crafting everything in the background, but say you could wave a magic wand and change the substance of the settlement. So the roster limits, the cap, or anything like that. Is there anything you would change, or do you like it how it is?
Oh, that's a good one. I think there are definitely elements that could be allocated differently. I think they could have been steps put in place more gradually. I think one of the biggest changes I would say is how immediate everything like went into effect right away. I think there were some unfair decisions that people didn't have enough notification or prompting with. And I think there was also a global sense systemically from like the NCAA of colleges saying, we have to make this decision right now. But then there was no like bylaw about that. There's nothing like that said you absolutely have to do this. It was just the roster limits are coming. This is the idea. Like being in the room with Judge Claudia Wilkins in the final hearing, adjusting the grandfathering in of some athletes in some sports. And that dynamic, like for swimming, it makes a really unique spot because as for a men's sport, we have 9.9 scholarships, which I don't know what we're supposed to do with the 0.9 really, but women have 13, which is great. And now we have quite a lot more scholarship to use. And typically there's not more than 30 people on a roster anyways. So it kind of satisfies that state a little bit better in my regards. But I'd say like the immediacy of all the changes, like that resisting, kind of going off that question before, there were a lot of things put in place really immediately that I felt like didn't have enough thought put into them. And so I think the implementation of these could have been trickled in a little bit better and also followed through with a little bit more thought rather than just like spontaneous reaction. Do you feel like that answers your question well enough? Okay. Yeah. Good one.
Just looking at men's college basketball, how can Marquette compete against UConn or the schools that have the richest alumni and can get the best darn players there because they can buy them?
Yeah. No, great question. Someone over there said donate more. That's a solution, but I know that's not possible for everyone. And so I think it's important to look at examples that are happening right now. I think UK is a great example right now. They just basically had one of the highest payrolls for their college basketball program, which is an interesting sentence to say now. And they're having a horrible season, in my eyes, for the BBN, the Big Blue Nation, and their standards of their legacy. So I don't think it always has to come from just all these monetary incentives. Like, we were just talking about it when we were driving in today. Miami Oxford. Like, I don't know if they're still undefeated or not, but they were 15-0. All right. And so I think with that in mind, like, I know growing up around there, swimming at Miami Oxford's pool, like growing up since I was 8, that it's not the most lucrative college in the world. I'm sure there's others with other opportunities, but it really is a testament to double down onto how the programs can be more innovative, how they can be more creative and forward thinking of creating that culture from the coach's standpoint. I'm coming from a position of seeing the head coach at ASU openly talk in an interview. He's like, I've lost control of the team. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know if he said it more or less, but like, I've lost the team. It's like, well, that's a great leader. Like, that's what I want. That's never anything that you want to hear. And so really doubling down on culture and the opportunities that you have, leaning into those and knowing like money isn't just going to buy every win possible. It will help in most cases, but if you don't have the character, the integrity, and the core culture on that, I still think there are plenty of examples where it's just not, the wins don't follow it without that. So a house can only stand on its structure and its foundation. And I'm a firm believer that NIL really exemplifies that. I think someone like, he has an interesting history, but Rick Pitino talking on like the current state of it in college basketball, I think there's an interesting aspect of that with the leadership that the coaches have to help lead these young men getting these temptations and these new opportunities in life. So I don't think it's all just donations help, yes, but it's not all about, okay, I can just donate the most money. Michigan State, like they just had a big donation for their athletic department, and that'll hopefully help uplift some of their other programs. Maybe like their swim program that just got cut a couple years back in 2016. So there's, I think, a lot of unique innovation and creativity to have. And I think there's plenty of case studies to look at to where the money added in doesn't just equate to better performance.
Hi, Grant. Thanks for coming. As we kind of know, there's a lot of unanswered questions still with House, and I was just wondering how we kind of get the right people to the table, especially athletes who have the most important voice, in my opinion, when it comes to these issues. How do we get them to the table when it comes to having conversations with like Congress and the people who may be able to influence a little bit more how we actually answer these questions?
Yeah, that's a very, very powerful question. I would say like the openness to conversation, continue like having dialogue with athletes about this. Because like you said, the athlete's voice mattered a lot. I think what will continue to be important to push forward is not having Congress make the ruling for the athletes, but really when you look at any map and any model of professional sports, they have a CBA, they have a players association or players union, and understanding like that is what's going to have to happen at some point. College sports has a very unique umbrella where football silo is football. Hockey's silo is hockey. And the NCAA and college sports silo is field hockey, swimming, gymnastics, football. So the effort to go and create the CBA is going to have to be very innovative, very forward thinking, and very like assertive. Like everyone in the sports law program like has a responsibility in my eyes to put forth effort if that's the career choice you want to go into, to apply your effort and make those changes happen, because it doesn't just happen with our mouths being closed. It doesn't just happen with our butts on the seat. Like getting out there, being assertive with it, and trying to be creative about what those look like. Like, is it a CBA for everyone? Is it a CBA for that one sport? I think regardless, if we want to actually give the athletes power, that's where I believe it has to go. So CBA, regulations and penalties. I feel like there's no guardrails right now at NIL, and that's completely on the NCAA's failure. And then also implementation of an idea that I've had is like relegation. You look at soccer in Europe and across the world. You reward performance and you de-incentivize lack thereof performance. So if you perform well enough, you move up to the next league. If you lose and you're not doing what you need to, or the players aren't performing, like they move down a league. And I think that would be a model to start looking at a little bit more because of how prominent soccer is in the world, as a sport, as a global, like almost language too for people. But I'd say those three components are really what the next steps are leaning into, and making sure that we're taking those steps to make those possible, and not just letting some person or some entity above all that, away from that, make that decision for us. Very important component.
Hi, Grant, thank you so much. And as someone who swam in middle school, high school, and college, it's really, your story is really inspirational.
Thank you.
I actually have like a two-part question. One, what were some adjustments or difficulties you had to make when swimming like during the COVID period? Because that was definitely a tough one. And do you see any changes that college swimming has made from that period now, maybe with like eligibility or how things are run now?
Yeah, no, I think for the state of the union and the state of the sport for swimming, it's been unique because COVID really, I think, showed and taught a lot of people. Like, we came out of that, and within like 9 months, we saw at least 10 to 20 world records being broken. And so it was like, okay, we don't have to just stare at a black line for 30 hours a week. Like, there's a new idea here, and there's a new implementation of it. And I think it kind of showed how swimming can be a little bit more entertaining. It showed us how we can train a little bit differently. It showed us how the sport can be more marketable as well. And I think the realization of that has been a little bit delayed because a lot of the past adages of like 70s, 80s, I'd say 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe 90s, like just more. And if you're not doing that, you're wrong. Very limited mindset. And so I think what it taught us was like, we don't need to do as much as we thought we did. We can do it differently, and it doesn't take as much to get back to where we do. And that actual rest and that recovery period allowed us to adapt to maybe all the work we did, but going forward as well. And I think the last 2 years, swimming's been an interesting spot because they've understood the entertainment deficit that they're in and the entertainment product that they're providing. For the layperson, it's not that exciting, other than every 4 years, when you're watching America fight against Australia or Great Britain. Very exciting, one of the most popular viewed sports every 4 years, but that time in between is often not very viewed. And so I think it really taught us the entertainment value and how to present a better product for swimming, that someone, fortunately an ASU alumni, Kyle Sockwell, is spearheading a really big initiative to take that step, make it more exciting, make it more entertaining, and how to actually provide profit to the sport.
Grant, thank you for coming. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your time at Arizona State when you joined the SLB program.
All right.
Kind of how that impacted your view on the entire situation that you've been dealing with. And then kind of after that, what advice you would have to students like myself who are part of the sports law program, and how to move forward if this is something we're interested in as a career path.
Awesome. Phenomenal question. This is one of my favorite ones I like to talk on. So the sports law and business program for me really changed the entire landscape of my life and my projection, how I viewed sports. So I saw it as very impactful, and my specific role and necessity, given the lawsuit, I felt like I was not educated enough to be an ethical and powerful and moral leader for this initiative and this push forward. And so I took it upon myself to find X, Y, and Z. What are the components that are going to help me be a better leader and be more informed? And being a part of that sports law program was an incredible opportunity to meet individuals like the president of the NASCAR, meet the CEO of like the Phoenix Suns, meet with the owner of the Phoenix Mercury, like different opportunities. Like, you have a very unique situation here and a hotbed of sports in Milwaukee, to where you can find an inlet to a job, a career in sports, whether it's agency, ticketing, marketing, advertisement, publicity, whatever it may be. You have a lot of inlets and opportunities here to really capitalize on that. And I would say something that I didn't get to capture a lot, which I always think about, is because of my swimming career, if it was like, here's a networking event for the program on Thursday, here's a networking opportunity, here's a panel to come speak. Ironically, like being in your shoes and with myself speaking today, like an event like this, I don't know if I would have been able to attend because of competitions. And that's something that I always look back on, that I know my classmates had the opportunity to, and they benefited a lot. So like some of my classmates have jobs in the PGA, like they're working the Phoenix Open this weekend, which is in Phoenix, unique opportunity. Some of them are with Sail GP out in Britain, a worldly global sports entity that they really fell into and found a deep passion for because they grew up sailing, and through their entire journey ended up back being able to market and provide advertisement opportunities for the sport to elevate it. So I think there's a lot of opportunities if you just keep leaning into those opportunities that are presented that will blossom and grow for you out of it. And if you feel like they're not there, I promise you they are. Continue to challenge yourself with something like have an internship or have a discussion or lean on your professors a lot as much as you possibly can, because that's where I benefited the most. I had the founder of Exos, where I got my internship a year before. He was the co-founder of that. I talked with one of the heads of Sail GP as well. I talked with the owners of Bouldering Project. I love climbing. I love rock climbing. And I actually got to do a marketing activation for them. And now I'm a member of the gym because the work that we did on the marketing activations were enough for them to solidify creating the gym in Tempe. So there's some unique opportunities there that if you find them, if you lean into them enough, that you'll find the prosperous kind of situation that you're looking for. Does that answer your question? Great question.
So we're at time, but last night when we were at dinner, you mentioned that growing up, you were a huge Dwayne Wade fan.
Yeah.
So I got you a Dwayne Wade jersey.
Man. Oh, there we go.
There you go, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And can we get another round of applause?
Nice.
And good luck in the Olympic trials.
Thank you. Really appreciate everyone coming here and accepting this opportunity and welcoming me in with such open arms and such great questions as well. I know Derek and I will be staying a little bit after, so if anyone wants to come up and chat a little bit more, questions, pictures, whatever it is, I'm fully open for that. But just thank you so much. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to speak here and the openness, especially after facing the last 5 years. So thank you so much, and go Marquette.
Yeah, man.